This conference will now be recorded.
Commissioner Jennings,
Here.
Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Spillman,
Here.
Commissioner Warren, Mayor Ganger.
Here. And we're going to start with the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you would like to join us, please stand. Prayer first. We're going to do the prayer first. Riot, go ahead.
Dear God, thank you for this day. Bless everyone in this meeting. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Would you come forward, Kalia, Amaya? Help us with the pledge. Face the flag. There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guys.
Thank you, girls. Super job, young ladies.
And do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, there's not.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Motion carries. So if you had the opportunity to go this weekend to Lovey Watson Park, I want to introduce you, if you don't know, Robin Henderson. And she just did a fabulous job of bringing the community together and worked tirelessly. And it was a wonderful, wonderful event that I hope everyone gets to come to next year. Stand up. Give us a little history on it.
Okay, so I started let me come up here so I don't have to awkwardly stand. I started the Juneteenth celebration last year. I think what prompted me to do that is I'm a transplant to Cali County, and I'm an inner city girl from Kansas City, and I grew up with that richness of our culture and that unity, and so I wanted to have that experience here while I raise my children, and also bring my community together to experience part of our culture. Juneteenth is considered June 19th, and it's a time in history where in 1865, the slaves in Galveston, Texas learned that they were free, which had actually occurred 2 years before 1863 in the rest of America. And so it's a part of American history. It's a time to celebrate. It's now a federal holiday. And I hope that our celebration continues to grow in size and celebration and grow our community. So
Great. Thank you so much. So awards and proclamations. As some of you may know, most of you may not, there is a life-saving award in Zoll, which is a piece of equipment. Is that right? Don't let me make a mistake up here. A piece of equipment that they used and it resulted in a life saved. And so that company recognizes those life-saving efforts and recognizes the group that did it. And it's the Arkansas City Fire EMS Director Jerry Smith, Captain Jeffrey Sampson, Lieutenant Cameron Vickery, William Hankins, and Brandy Rice. Will you guys come forward? So you want to tell them what that represents, what kind of equipment that is?
The Zoll monitor is, we have two pieces of Zoll equipment we use on patients who suffer cardiac arrest. One of them is our cardiac monitoring defibrillator, and it also acts as an external pacemaker. And the other one is our auto pulse, which does mechanical CPR.
So,
So we had real good luck with those two pieces of equipment. These guys did an awesome job.
I believe in this case, we didn't even get to the auto pulse.
We didn't even have to use the auto pulse this time. So it was a 49-year-old man who was bringing a bag of dog food into his house and just collapsed and was sudden cardiac death between the kitchen and the dining room. So they did a good job.
thank you all for coming. And I want you to know, not one of them wanted to come. They're like, no, that's fine, we're fine. But I appreciate them coming, I appreciate their efforts, and it's important for us to know how hard they work in this community. So thank you all very much. Recognition of visitors.
A promotion of Master Police Officer Matt Mayo to the rank of sergeant.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. So I have the honor of celebrating Matt Mayo today. You don't have to stand. Matt Mayo was promoted to the rank of sergeant effective June 18th, 2022. Sergeant Mayo has been employed by the Ark City Police Department since 2016. He previously served with the Cali County Sheriff's Office and also the Kansas Department of Corrections before coming to the department. Sergeant Mayo has spent a bulk of his time as school resource officer at the Arkansas City High School. While there, he has cultivated positive relationships with students and staff. Most notably, Sergeant Mayo has been a driving force in the cultural change of the department over the last 6 years. Sergeant Mayo has led the way in community outreach efforts to include Popsicle Patrol, Coffee with a Cop, and school-based programs such as High Five Fridays and eating lunch with students and having fun at recess. He's also planned and been a huge part of numerous DARE camps and National Night Out celebrations. Sergeant Mayo is currently assigned to night shift, where he is also helping to train our newest recruits. On behalf of the Arkansas City Police Department, we would like to congratulate Sergeant Mayo on his successful career to this point and look forward to many more excellent years of service.
Good victory lap.
Hey, congrats. Appreciate all you do, man. Yep, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Sergeant.
And I'm gonna shake from you. Congratulations.
Can't forget you.
He missed, walking.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we missed that.
Congratulations. Good luck. Good.
So do we have anyone signed up to speak? Okay. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you. Thank you. So to the consent agenda.
Anybody gonna do anything?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Mhm.
I move we accept the agenda as written.
Consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business?
Item 1, discussion of current court costs.
I think we were just visiting about that. We weren't going to take any kind of action at all. So we were still gathering information, but yeah. Thank you.
Does anybody have kind of a synoptic update of what this is?
I contacted, the number of cities are about 72, I think, that handle over 2,000 or over 500 cases a year in municipal court. Got a gauge on what their court costs were. And so we just barely talked about it a little bit at work session, but it'll take a little bit more review on that and discussion on it. So I'll bring that up at the next work session and show everybody kind of what the court costs are. Okay.
Do
I can say, Leslie, because there might be some discussion tonight, she did pull some history together of ours, where our court costs have been over the last few years and some documentation of where they're at now and some of that stuff. So if you guys want that ahead of time to look over.
Yeah, no, I think.
that'd be good.
So what I did is just briefly, I'll just go over just a few things. So just a packet I put together. And then I'll explain each one. So the first part of the packet is what the general report is from the Kansas Supreme Court Office of Judicial Administration. And what that is each municipal court is required to submit to the Supreme Court that the number of cases filed in their respective courts. So I just did the 19 and 18 that you'll have in the packet. I have others, and then there is also a website if you're interested. I wasn't able to download it so I could see it, but you can see the number of cases filed in each court. Right. Then next part of the packet is on the court clerk's listserv and on their website. They have a notified section where people can send in what their court costs and stuff like that. So the next part that you have here is just that spreadsheet. I just took out some stuff if there were no fees in it, and it just lists where we are right now. I'm assuming this is pretty current, maybe a year or so old because they don't date it. But ours is current, and it just states where we're at for traffic cases, court costs, and where we're at for criminal cases. And believe it or not, some cities charge different fees for traffic versus criminal. So then the next part in the packet is the required state fees, which is the form that looks like this. These are the fees that we submit each month to the state of Kansas. And attached to each is the corresponding Kansas statute that explains how much and why you have to do that. And so you'll see there's two that are kind of like in a bracket. It says Judicial Branch Education Fund and Law Enforcement Training Center Fund. Those are the only two that are assessed on every single case filed in municipal court. The other ones are for, like, it would only be if it's a DUI charge, it would be the $250. If it's a seatbelt, it's the $20. So they're specific to just the charge and not just every individual case. So that's just a little history of that and the corresponding statute.
But they don't charge $113.75 per ticket for the Judicial Branch Education Fund.
Oh, say that again?
Well, it says $113.75.
No, that's the total of what the city of Arkansas City collected. The fee is right next to
$1.
$1.
Right.
Yeah, so it's $1. Then I just, out of curiosity, I just did a little history of court costs. I went back to 1989 when we chartered out of the requirement where you don't charge court costs, and I went from there. And there was only one huge increase that I saw, and that was in 2011. And I attached the action item from the previous city attorney as to why. I wasn't involved in that. But prior to that, most of the increases were because the state increased by 50 cents, by $2, by $10. So that's just a little breakout of that. And then from my understanding, the last form, it was if there was a proposed reduction in court costs from $96 to $70 is what I understood it might be. I just kind of pulled the cases that were filed in 2021 just so I can get a number of where to start as far as the case and the difference in the revenue from what we charge now versus if they were to change, obviously based on the number of tickets filed, we just don't know what that's going to be. There'd be about a $45,000 potential revenue loss. So I just wanted the commission and citizens to just to be aware and just to look at this information and make an informed decision if anything needs to change.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Just, I think it's, part of that, I think, is sometimes we know what that agenda item is, but our public, we want to make sure that people who are tuning in or sitting are aware of what the topic is. And I do know that there's actually expected state legislation, which is different. It's a little bit different than the topic of court costs. But they've done this evaluation of a couple of things with driver license suspensions, specifically that they're addressing this 90-day wait period once a person has paid fines associated with a suspended driver's license for whatever the cause may be, as well as there were two things they said that are crippling. We've had the conversations here about struggling to get people on the payrolls to work. And they're saying that it was crippling the employable base by having people who had to wait 90 days for the state to drop the restriction for a suspended license for whatever the reason was. And the other thing was that typically once you've lost suspension of license and you've lost your ability to, for transportation, personal transportation, you also have lost your income. And I think there was like a $100 or two, I have to do my homework again, $100 or $200 fine that they also assessed, and they are looking at changing that to $25, saying that, basically I got my license, if my license was suspended, they'll cut that part where I said if I got, hypothetically. If I were to get my license suspended or driving privileges revoked, I would have to pay the assessment off of likely lost income, unemployment. And I would also then have to, so I had to come up with the money, have to sit around and wait 90 days to get my blessing from the state that I have the privileges, my driving privileges are restored. And in the meantime, you got employers screaming and saying, where are the workers? Where are the workers? Where are the workers? And what tends to happen is, of course, then people say, hey, I got a chance at a job. I can start getting money. I'm making money a legal way. And then they are driving to work and they get stopped and they get pulled over because of that 90-day wait, or they're saying, as soon as I get my $200, I can pay the fine. Then my 90-day count starts. And then I can legally go back to work. But meanwhile, little Junior's ribs are showing through his, skin. So I know they're addressing similar discussion at the legislative. It's going to be a topic when they reconvene. Saw that in the Wichita News. I just thought.
Yeah, well, I did see that one of the things that they have done is they have a program where in municipal court you can reduce the fees and the fines and the reinstatement fees. And so people who can show that this is an economic hardship that I'm not going to be able to overcome, we all want them to be licensed. That are police department has said that's a number one thing happening is unlicensed drivers. He said that had gone up. And so if we can get them licensed, they can get insurance. And then part of the problem is solved. And so just looking at different ways to help that. So anybody have any questions for Leslie? Thank you.
I have
Oh.
one more, which is, it might take more research, which is with the changes in the court cost fees, I guess which one is the more deterrent? The court cost or the fine? But, I mean, do you see any connection between repeat offenders and increased?
Honestly, I do not. It's either they're going to continue doing what they're going to do,
Habitual.
or they're going to get caught and pay their fine. But I've not had anyone really say to me, oh, that fine's too high, or that court cost is too high. It's just as a whole, my ticket's too high. So, but they haven't, made a difference between court costs and the fines themselves.
Okay.
And some fines, especially like on the traffic, that we just follow the state statute on that.
Right.
So I come to court and I sit on Tuesdays to watch, and the heavy majority of the people have to do payment plans. Would you say it's over 70% that have to do payment plans?
Yes, at least, I'd say 70.
Okay. And so that's the governor of looking at it, is to see what we can do to help them without hurting ourselves.
And the judges are pretty lenient as far as if they can't make their payment, they just have to come to court and set up another pay plan. So he will extend that.
Oh, yeah.
We can see that because we have cases that we're still being paid for several years. And as long as they pay or come to court, we're not going to issue a warrant. We're not going to license or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the court is willing to work with people, and Kristen is willing to work with people trying to get their license reinstated.
Okay. So, yeah, it seems like there's at least a distant cousin type relationship between these costs and with that discussion from the state legislature, workforce availability, so I just, okay.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
I mean, no, Madam Mayor.
That's all right. You can just say no. Next.
That's my cue. We've got, consider first reading of an ordinance adopting the budgeted pay plan to become effective July 2, 2022.
Okay. Commission, we visited this. One of the things that we had originally talked about was retention in our employees and what we could do, correct? Mr. City Manager, I'll let you take it from there.
So we had been working on some ways to help kind of the starting wages of a lot of the private employers were quite a bit higher than ours. We were trying to find a way to try to get that up to help us be able to attract new employees and keep the ones we have. We kicked around a cost of living percentage. And then the idea came up to do $1 across the board, which would really help the folks that need it the most. And so that's kind of where it landed. We felt like that $1 per hour raise is gonna help the entry level people, the ones that it gives them a bigger percentage raise to offset the things that are happening right now in the economy with the gas and the food, the expenses that are going up, and then also help us compete with the entry levels. It's other businesses, such as you can start at Brahms for more than some of our jobs start at, and so it that helps us compete for those employees as well.
And we visited in the work session that we're never going to be able to compete with that sector, with the private sector, because we don't have stockholders. We are the stockholders, all of us who live in town. And, but we're also not going to get bought out by a large company. And we're not going to get replaced by machines who can do our job better and faster. So there's a loyalty from the city as well as to the city as a whole. And so I think it's important to build on that family dynamic, however extended and large that it is. I think that's what we need to do. And we appreciate the employees at every facet, no matter what your job is. If you're a city employee, what you do is important, and we need what you do.
Yeah, well, you know, if we don't have anybody in sanitation to pick up our household waste, I mean, what kind of community do we live in? It's horrible, you know, here. And same with the police, if we don't have police officers to keep us safe, or like the EMS, or if we don't have anybody that can save a 49-year-old guy that, you know, drops, we're in a world of hurt in our community. So being able to attract people that want to serve our community is very important.
We need them check riders too, Amy.
I was ahead of my time. In 1992, one of my college research papers was this proposal that says we're doing this backwards. We take young people, we're doing things like starting a family, trying to buy a first home, all of those expensive things, needing a car, and we start them at the very bottom of the pay scale. And what we do is over time, we increase them and increase them and increase them. And when their children are grown and gone, and they're maybe looking at either just, I've paid my mortgage off, or I'm ready to buy my retirement home, and I don't need 5 bedrooms anymore, I just need, 2, 1 for company. I said, and then we got them at the zenith of their earning capacity. And so my proposal was that I think we ought to start people at the top end of the pay scale, and then gradually, as they pay some of the early life costs, wean them back down to where they are living off of what they live off of, unless they've saved and been prudent with the retirement income.
I don't know if you've
You know?
worked out, but all the city workers are like,
No,
that doesn't sound right.
That's what everybody thinks, but it's usually, we're trying to help the ones who are starting out to survive in this crazy inflation right now. So I really do think I was ahead of my time, with that. Because you get your nice big house to start life out with. And then you say, well, when you're close to retirement, what do you need with 5 bedrooms and all the cost of maintaining? Property taxes, high utility bills, all those things. Got something a little cozy.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to go ahead. I think we all know it's needed. It's important that we try to keep we've all said, keep the employees we have, be appealing to those looking for jobs and work. So saying that, I'd like for us to consider an ordinance fixing the compensation of employees of the city of Arkansas City, Kansas pursuant to the provision of KSA 14-1501 and replacing ordinance number 2022-04-4552.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
Now, away from my narrative of La La Land, I noticed that the agenda item referred to it as the first reading. Is there to be a subsequent reading, or why do we call this?
It's just the first time we brought it. If it needed to be, but
Yeah.
they want
Typically,
it to
there's
be
a
effective.
statutory requirement behind first, second, subsequent readings.
Blame that on Randy
So we.
and Larry.
So there is no subsequent, there isn't a second reading or anything like that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know where we were going with the first reading of it. And can we at least share what we have here? It shows us, the approval date, just the fiscal impact, and
The
we have it in front of us.
Well, originally, when we attended the meeting, and I don't know if I'm answering the question you're asking, but when we attended the meeting, we were looking at a certain amount of COLA, and it was going to be, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, can we just articulate that again for our viewing audience? Just that little section that says fiscal impact? Anybody
the
want to be
amount-
brave and do that?
Well, the amount estimated when they were talking about doing it as a cost of living increase was going to be about 188,000, almost 189. When we decided to do the dollar across the board per hour for every employee, top to bottom, it's a 216,000. So it was a $31,000 difference to give everybody the same raise.
Okay. I was looking for a staff response of what that looked like and what the funds look like.
So yes, the finance director did go through and the money is available and annual estimated cost will be $216,000.
You have the breakouts on the different.
Fund, how that will be broke out to. General fund, $173. Stormwater, $4,148. Water will be $19,265. Wastewater, $10,795, and sanitation, $16,619.
Okay. No more questions, Mayor.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion before passing this incredible ordinance here? All right. Hearing none. All in favor signify with aye. Oh, roll call. Sorry.
Commissioner Jennings,
Which one is it? Aye, is it yes?
It's a yes.
Okay. Aye.
whichever you choose.
Okay.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Commissioner Spielman,
Yes.
Mayor Ganger.
Yes. Congratulations. And I knew that too. I knew it was a roll call and I was all excited about it. We got to throw it off and he started asking questions. I forgot. Okay, next.
A resolution in support of the mayor and city commission for the determination of the LWCF grant project 20-00785 at Wilson Park.
So, as you're aware, in 2019, the city was awarded a $300,000 grant to the Department of Wildlife and Parks. The scope of the project was originally for a splash pad and restrooms. As we know, going through COVID and stuff, that project never moved forward. We requested from the Department of Wildlife and Parks if that money could be used for another use. And they said basically based on when they scored that grant, it was based on that project and comparing to others, and they compared that project to other cities' projects and was awarded based on the merits of the project. So it wouldn't be fair to reuse the money for something else. So our options are to find a way to do the project before September 30th of this year, or we can return the grant. And if we return the grant, we're able to apply for other grants right away. So they understand that a lot of things happen from between the time that grant was awarded and now. And so it doesn't affect future grant opportunities. Obviously, they'd be scored competitive like they always are. So, but just the fact of if money's returned, that won't be a ding against our community. So.
Question?
Did they ever, let me ask it this way. Was there ever anything like a ceremonial groundbreaking that says this is where the project is going to occur? So this was just a rhetorical project with grant money is what it was.
I think it was originally tied to the master plan at Wilson Park. This all happened before I was here. So, but I think it was kind of tied to that master plan. And there was some, fundraising mechanisms put in place through Legacy, but those were never really acted on. So I just don't know that there was with all the changes with COVID and the changes of elected officials and city staff and things, it just kind of slipped through the cracks.
So we got a pretty new train, and we've got, don't it always seem to show that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You take Paradise and you put in a parking lot, you know. So, anyway, so we got those things done, but we never really turned a shovel full of dirt associated with this project. So, okay, well, we can either give it back to them, or we could see how far we could get away before they caught us. You guys.
Commissioner, anything else? Does anybody have any?
What's the mayor's disposition on this?
It was, you know, a lot has been said about the fact that Winfield has a splash pad, 2 splash pads, and we don't.
Countywide newspaper.
Yes, I really appreciated the placing of that. That was wonderful. But Randy and I are going to be visiting with the city manager in Winfield on how they did theirs. They had, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, theirs is about 300,000 for both.
I think that's what, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but ours was over $1 million. That was the design because it was a showpiece. So to be tiled and had a lot of amenities to it that are not typical. So we're not going to be able to complete the project by September. Just even getting in supplies, as the city knows, has been difficult, just getting in the regular things that you need. Cars are backed up, parts aren't available. In every department, they'll say, yeah, we ordered it, it's just not here yet. It's going to be a while, so.
I was looking for language in either the agenda item or the resolution that says that. So what action, somebody give guidance. I'll make a motion, but give guidance. What's our action?
I think the action is we're not going to be able to complete the project, and then we will return the funds to the Department of Wildlife and Parks.
So then I would move that we would have the mayor to direct the city staff to return the LWCF grant funds based on our inability to complete the project by the deadline required.
Is that a motion? I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. City manager.
We had a Summit Street update meeting this morning, Nick and I and Rosemary and Chris Minen with the Pearson representatives. All the milling work is done. The base repairs have been done. The concrete work on the east side of the road is mostly complete. They're doing some curb work and some intersection replacement and you know, driveways and some things like that, sidewalks. They'll need to go over the west side yet. So I think, Nick, was a couple more weeks probably before 2 more weeks. They're looking at maybe having that done. So depending on weather and things of that nature. So things are going really well. They're not running into any problems at this point. So the last night we had the the community visioning presentation from South Dakota State University and Kansas State University TAB program. So I put a copy, I think I sent you a draft copy a few weeks ago, but the final copy, I gave you a printed copy of that. And we didn't have a large amount of turnout there, but the folks that were there were very passionate and really excited about some of the concepts and things that come out of this. And so I think they would like to, some of them like to pursue kind of a betterment committee to kind of maybe take as citizens and pick up the ball and run with some of this stuff. So as you read through it, there's some, some things the city can do for as far as zoning, so there was some proposals for some outdoor seating downtown, taking a couple of parking places and making it kind of a little outdoor seating area. And, we have a few restaurants downtown that could take advantage of that. And maybe we invite some food trucks to be part of that too at some point to help increase the traffic down there in some of those areas. Some other things that can be done at low cost would be decorating windows, and not like just painting on, but setting up some really cool displays in windows, that more art type related things that give some of the empty buildings some excitement and depth. And if you can kind of tie that in with if you can get some activity with people at downtown eating and outside eating and things, it just creates more excitement there. Another low cost thing would be a projector in one of the buildings downtown that would kind of put some imaging, have movement at night. There was some outdoor space opportunities that they identified for, having movies and other ways to have people gather downtown. So, and then the other things would be more, we're going to have community investment by private sector. They had some ideas on a way to use one of the buildings for a daycare center downtown. There's a bunch of, at this particular building, there's space behind it that could be a courtyard or a yard could be put in. And they had identified that as a good place for maybe a daycare center where you could have alleyway pickup and drop off for the kids and a place for them to play and things. One of the other ideas was a youth center downtown. And they kind of have some drawings there on that. Also some rooftop on some of the buildings that have the flat roofs, maybe having some type of a rooftop gathering place, whether it be an event venue or just a place for people to kind of like the space on the street to eat, have a place up there for them to kind of go and eat. So there's just some ideas like that, that some of it would be relatively easy to do, and other things obviously are going to take some investment and some people that have a vision and want to see that happen. But it was interesting, and we recorded the meeting with them, and we can share that with everybody, and we'll make this is available on the city's website, the report, and that Zoom meeting that was recorded from them will also be on the city website, so people can go in and view that if they missed the meeting. The archaeology survey, they're still working on the report. They had some staffing issues and vacations, and so she said she's working on the report right now. She's having some issues with mapping, but she's working through that, and hopes to get that done here soon. And she pointed out there was tons of data. They collected tons of data out there, a lot of artifacts and soil information, but none of it's significant. But they still have to go through it and the reporting and document all that. So that's what's between employee help problems and the amount of data they're processing is taking a while. But the developer's still interested and move forward with that project once this is done. So so on the water master plan, we do have a preliminary report now from the engineer. We'll be getting together with the engineer and coming up with some cost projections and things. But that'll be very helpful as we move through the budget, and also looking at water rates coming up. Having the projects identified that we, obviously the pipes, the older pipes in town, those will all be identified, and we'll have some costs that it'll take to replace those. some of the other projects, the Crestwood improvements that are needed and some of the water fill stations, some of that stuff will have some costs on that so that we're able to budget for those and figure out how we're going to pay for it. And then that kind of ties into the water infrastructure webinar that Nick and I attended today. So they were just kind of going over all these dollars, federal dollars that are coming in for water and wastewater infrastructure. And this thing's changing. They're working through their plan on how they're going to use the money and stuff. And so this was kind of the latest understanding of how this is going to work. But for the most part, it looks like it'll mostly be through the SRF program. It'll be loans and principal forgiveness, like the wastewater treatment plant loan we had $1 million principal forgiveness. Most likely, we're going to see a lot higher percentage of forgiveness with these federal dollars coming in. So we'll still have some skin in the game with the loan piece of it, but the principal forgiveness and grant part will be higher. And they're also going to be focusing on affordability criteria in disadvantaged communities. And I know when Commissioner Jennings and I were in DC visiting with our representatives here a few months ago, we did kind of push that. What is a disadvantaged community? And we don't want that to kick a community like us out of it, So hopefully they get that definition really pinned down so that we know what that means. But those are going to be criteria that they're going to be looking at. So, but back to the water master plan. For these projects to be eligible for these funds, we're going to have them entered into the SRF intended use plan. So we'll have to have projects identified. We'll have to submit those to KDHE and their SRF, this revolving loan fund, and so that we have those projects identified. They're in the system and approved. So as these monies come available, we'll be able to access them. So it's kind of working out good. The master plan for the water and this funding coming, we should be able to be ready for that when they're ready to start providing those funds. We should be ready for projects to help get that done. So, and we got an email today on the opioid settlement distribution, the first one. It looks like this first distribution will be getting about $2,800.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit. Yeah.
You can do what the city, is that money's that we get directed towards it had to be a certain way, I assume.
Yeah, it had.
I thought it did. I couldn't remember. I thought so.
It had to do with drug.
Policing or drugs or
things. So but there's a lot of money. It's going to take years to see it all, and there's a lot of money coming. But the very first distribution will be about $2,800. So it's a start. And I just want to remind you all about the July 1st work session. That's at 8 a.m. Water treatment plant. So, and we'll be talking budget and things.
And I phone in too.
And then just the financial summary in the back there, please make sure you look at that. So that's all I got.
Anything?
Nope.
In low priority,
Huh?
easy to do, and we might be fine after our host of community initiatives and volunteers we saw a couple of weeks ago. We talked a little bit about creating some scooter safety lanes, marking them. Yeah, I just thought maybe it might be good to see if someone can court, a volunteer type organization that might want to get engaged in that and help with that.
Are you talking on the sidewalks for downtown, or are you talking in the street for downtown?
I don't know if we concluded where we were going to do it. I know we were just talking principally for the downtown area.
Because the only place they're not allowed on sidewalks would be in downtown. And one of the things we talked about, and I'd seen this when I was in Germany a few years ago. They had bicycle lanes on the sidewalks that were marked out, and I made the mistake of walking in one. That's how I found out what they were, German. But it was kind of an interesting concept. It was out far enough away from the buildings and the doors that it wasn't, and I don't know that we have wide enough sidewalks, but it's something to at least consider, to keep the scooters off the street downtown where
Just downtown. How hard would it be to measure those out and find out if we've got the 14 or 16 inches? I don't know what they need.
I'd say we need to get with Josh and he's the guru on ADA and him and Mike Bellis and see what they think on that and if that works into the ADA requirements and all that good stuff, so.
Okay. Anything else to come?
Well, don't pray me.
Come on, I'm gonna give you one more chance.
I got other thing else. Okay.
Okay, quick, Spuddy.
Last chance. I'll make a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Second it. We have
Discussion on the motion.
Waiting on that.
Discussion on adjournment motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Condolences to Commissioner Warren.
Condolences.
See you in the morning.